She is a person that we hope each of you will try to emulate, a person of vision who understands the challenges of the present but focuses on the possibilities of the future, a person of courage who takes on the most pressing and difficult challenges to help us reach that future, and a person of conscience and compassion who demonstrates concern for others and gives generously and constantly of herself. That is why we invited Dr. Richardson to address you. That is why we are so grateful that she accepted our offer. And that is why it is a privilege for me to introduce to you our 2018 Graduate School Commencement speaker, Dr. Louise Richardson.
President Jenkins, Provost Burnish, Dean Carlson, distinguished faculty, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. If I'm looking a little confused, it's wondering if I've stood up at the right moment, because I find it difficult to recognize myself in that extraordinarily generous introduction. So thank you very much, Provost. First and foremost, I'd like to offer my warmest congratulations to those of you who are receiving degrees from Notre Dame today. It is a fabulous achievement. I very much hope that you enjoy celebrating your success and sharing the celebrations with your families and friends. This is a very big day for you, and one that you have earned through hard work and dedication. But it is a very big day for them too. So I hope you will pause for a moment and reflect on what this day means to your families and friends, and draw them into your celebrations. The ability to empathize, to, as Atticus Finch memorably told Scout, climb into the skin of another and walk around in it, to see the world from another's perspective is a critical life skill. It is a hallmark of a vibrant democracy and a civilized society. It is one of the first casualties of warfare. You won't find it in any matrix of government-stipulated employability skills. It isn't easy to teach, although the philosophy that underpins this great university certainly tries. It requires practice. I hope that you will get some practice this weekend by seeing these celebrations through the eyes of your families and your supporters and sharing it with them. I remember the day I was awarded my own PhD, nearly 30 years ago. I ruined the lines of my crimson robes by wearing a white ribbon in solidarity with the students bravely protesting in Tiananmen Square while we were celebrating in Harvard Yard. As I thought about this address, I tried to recall the speech I heard that day. You have no idea how reassuring it is, when contemplating giving a graduation address, to realize that you have no recollection of who gave the speech at your own ceremony, much less what they said. What I do remember most vividly about that ceremony was that I carried my 3-week-old daughter in my arms. Having her with me was enormously important to me. I had filed my dissertation on the day she was due to be born. Ever since, I have advocated firm deadlines to my own graduate students. I am quite sure that had she been due 3 months earlier, my dissertation would have been finished 3 months earlier. And conversely, had she been due 3 months later, it would have taken me 3 more months to finish. I feel deeply honored to have been invited to speak to you today. I've never been to Notre Dame before, but I've heard about it for decades. I grew up, as you've heard, in rural Ireland, where not many girls were called Louise. I usually had at least 8 Marys in my class. My middle name is Mary, so I wasn't completely left out. For a time, I insisted on using the Irish or Gaelic version of my name, Louise. I became reconciled to my name only once I learned that Louise meant fighting spirit. So, for an Irish woman named Fighting Spirit to be invited to address the Fighting Irish just seemed appropriate, didn't it? What propelled me from rural Ireland to the Vice-Chancellor's lodgings in Oxford was, of course, my education. First from the nuns in our local schools and later in Trinity College Dublin and Harvard. I believe that education remains the best engine of social mobility that we have, and I hope you agree. I hope too that throughout your careers, in whatever fields you have chosen, you will remain committed advocates for education as a source of social mobility. In recent years, in your country and in mine, a growing and I believe unhealthy divide is emerging between those with and without university degrees. There is a growing criticism of the cost of education. The best response I've heard to this criticism is Derek Bock's quip, "If you think education is expensive, try ignorance." There is a growing and understandable concern about the level of student debt in the US and the UK. There are persistent calls in the UK for value for money in education, with the value of an education being equated with the size of a graduate salary. More troubling is the growing scepticism about the value of expertise and the legitimation of decisions based on emotion rather than evidence. We must all be passionate advocates of argument by reason and evidence-based decision-making. One of the graduates of my own university, a member of the British Cabinet, famously said in the course of the referendum on membership of the European Union, "We've had enough of experts." Personally, I don't think we have nearly enough experts. Even more troubling is the analysis of voting patterns in the recent presidential election in this country and the referendum in the United Kingdom. In Britain, 73% of those without university degrees voted for Brexit. 75% of those with university degrees voted to remain. Voting patterns were very similar in this country, where educational attainment was a better predictor of whether a county voted for President Trump than age, race, class, or income. Whatever one thinks of the decision to vote for President Trump or to leave the European Union, it is not good for universities to be isolated from the societies in which we live and work. Being an ivory tower is no longer an option for universities. Just a few weeks ago, I was in Prague speaking at Charles University. At a dinner with Czech academics that evening, the conversation was about the recent elections there, and the academics present expressed a mixture of surprise, dismay, and incomprehension at the results. I sat back from the table for a moment and realized that I had participated in identical conversations in London and Boston, with only the names being different. I remember saying to myself, I wonder, is this what it felt like to be part of the Ancien Regime? This is not a good place for universities to be. We must engage more systematically with the communities around us. We must persuade the public of the value of what we do. We must draw the public into an understanding of what we do and persuade them of its value to our society and our economy. And we must ensure that access to our wonderful education is fair and seen to be fair. And as you leave Notre Dame, I hope you will commit yourselves to doing so. You have earned degrees from one of the great universities in the world. How fortunate you are. Your degree will be necessary for you to attain your first job and everyone that follows. But your education, I hope, will provide you with so much more than your degree. John Stuart Mill, speaking at one of my former universities, the University of St. Andrews, said, "Universities are not intended to teach the knowledge required to fit men for some special profession, mode of gaining their livelihood." I wasn't far off. Their object is not to make skillful lawyers or physicians or engineers, but capable and cultivated human beings. Now, those of you who have paid for your education may be a little alarmed by this suggestion, but I do think that Mill was onto something. The fact is that thanks to advances in technology, the pace of change in the world is faster than it has ever been. What's more, the pace of change will probably never again be as slow as it is today. The fact is that you will hold positions in your lifetimes that we cannot even imagine today. The functional skills that you have acquired, that you've been tested on, and that today are being certified, will in all probability have to be renewed and reacquired. I'm afraid it's too late to ask for your money back. So it is more important than ever to think about who you want to be and not just what you want to be. When universities like yours and mine confer degrees, we are also asserting that it has been our intention to promote certain qualities of mind. Our teaching has been designed to produce intellectual self-reliance, to teach people how to learn, how to take charge of their thoughts, and how to direct them in an independent, analytical, and creative manner. Often what you know is not as important as what you do with what you know. The crucial, but also the most difficult qualities towards which our education is designed to help our students are understanding, independence of judgment, and the ability to distinguish the true from the seemingly true. These are the qualities that you take away from here with your degree. These are the qualities that will sustain you in a life in which the world is certain to change. These are the qualities that a stable and successful society needs in each successive generation. Every year, the Oxford dictionaries announce a word of the year. In 2016, it was post-truth, reflecting its use in the presidential and referendum campaigns. It refers to objective facts being less influential in shaping public opinion than appeals to emotion and personal belief. As Tacitus said over 2,000 years ago, truth is confirmed by inspection and delay, falsehood by haste and uncertainty. With the 24-hour news cycle and instantaneous social media coverage, no time is accorded to inspection and delay. Contrast today's news with the situation 200 years ago. Wellington defeated Napoleon at Waterloo on June 18, 1815. It took 4 days for news to reach London. In 1865, it took 12 days for word of Lincoln's assassination to reach London. Today, we would have instantaneous Twitter feeds from the battlefield and selfies from Ford's Theatre. It has never been more important for universities to represent and to inculcate a respect for inspection and delay, for evidence, to educate the next generation to distinguish between the evidence-based and the fabricated. Above all, to see truth as an aspiration, not a possession. As our graduates, we are relying on you to seek out the messy truth behind the simple falsehoods and to make the case with us for inspection and delay. I will not delay you further from the celebrations that I know you are itching to begin, not to mention the opportunity to catch up on the other celebration of Anglo-American relations that took place in St. George's Chapel, Windsor, this morning. But allow me to congratulate you once again, to wish you every success and happiness, and to encourage you to empathize with others as you make your way in your careers, to make the case for education and for universities, and above all, to insist on reason and evidence as the basis for your judgments and your decisions. Congratulations.